It is incredibly powerful. Whether that subscriber subscribed last Tuesday or has been on your list since 12 months ago, they don't necessarily read every word you write or listen to everything that you say, and do need that reminder of how they can actually take the next step and work with you. And it puts into place the repetition that's necessary in marketing to get it sales. There are many studies out there that talk about how someone needs to see something like 18 times before they make a purchasing decision. Well, your super signature is just like quietly doing that for you week after week, every time you send an email.
Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Hey, my Feel Good friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I am so excited to share today's guest with you. Gemma Bonham-Carter is one of those people who I've been following online for years, and I absolutely love her approach to course creation and marketing your business, building a business that works with your lifestyle by focusing on the stuff that matters and not feeling like you have to do all the things all the time, right? I know that you're going to love this conversation. Gemma shares so many actionable tips for email marketing and creating courses and all of that stuff. So if you do love this episode, make sure that you share it with a business buddy who could also use to listen to it. And while you're at it, leave us 5 stars or a friendly review on whatever podcast platform is your favorite, because that really does help us to continue spreading our Feel Good Social message. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Hi, Gemma. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm so excited to bring you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Kinsey.
Yes, of course. And I did already introduce you just a little bit in the intro, but I'd love to hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, my name is Gemma Bonham-Carter. I am an entrepreneur from Canada, actually currently living in the south of France for a year. I am an online course creator, and I help other online entrepreneurs create and sell and grow their online course businesses. I do that through 2 main programs. One is called Course Creator School for the new course creator entering that space. The other is called the Passive Project, which is more for established course creators really looking to grow and scale. And we do that through funnel, email marketing, all things evergreen, and really try and automate the process for growth. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I've loved watching your France content too. We have a lot of adventurers in our Feel Good Social audience, so they'll totally resonate. And as I was putting on my shirt this morning, I was trying out, have you heard of the French tuck in fashion or whatever? Like Tan France talks about. Okay, yeah. So I'm like tucking my shirt like that. I'm like, ooh, I should ask Gemma if that's like a real thing in France.
It is a real thing. No, okay. They all like, even like kind of chunky knit sweaters, like there's always like the tuck into the pants at the front.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to start doing that more now because I have a lot of chunky knit sweaters as well. Okay. Well, thanks for clearing that up for me. But I do always like to start off these interviews by asking you just a little bit about how you got into entrepreneurship and what has your journey looked like?
Totally. I'll try and give you the Cliff's Notes version because I feel like we could be here all day if I went into every twist and turn. I actually got started as an online blogger way back in 2010. And I started a blog about home decor, DIY projects. I bought a fixer-upper home with my husband and did that as a hobby. And then one thing led to another. That blog really turned into its own business. About 5 or 6 years later, I had an e-commerce store. I was speaking at blogging conferences. It was really like a legit side hustle against my career in public health. And so I was speaking at a conference and teaching the audience about how to monetize their blog. And this light bulb moment happened where I realized how in love I was with teaching the business of blogging versus being a blogger. I really was transitioning kind of into this new space, and I had incredible feedback from the participants that day. And so that turned into my first course. And that online course was about the business of blogging, and one thing led to another, and courses ended up becoming a really huge part of my business and eventually eclipsed my blog altogether. And I really moved into this world, and I taught about blogging for the first sort of 3 years, venturing into online courses. And then eventually it's what happens in this industry is then people are like, well, hang on a second. I don't want to hear about blogging anymore. I want to hear about how you've done what you've done as an online course creator. So that's when things like Course Creator School and the Passive Project came to be. And I really shifted into this role as a mentor for other course creators out there.
Yeah, yes. And I love all of your discussion of courses and your way that you approach launching. It really resonates to me because I feel like there is a lot of noise when it comes to the online world. A lot of people do actually end up kind of what you said, it's like meta a little bit. Like, start doing something and they're like, actually, let me teach you how I grew on Instagram. Actually, let me teach you how I do courses and stuff. But I feel like you do a really great job of focusing on what really matters when it comes to creating courses and not like completely going tech crazy, not saying that you have to do all of this different stuff, And when it comes to launching too, that's your teaching method. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think part of that really comes down to because I grew my business as a mom with young kids at home. Like when I launched my first course, I had really recently had my son and I was working in the nap times. Like the amount of hours I had to dedicate to my business was very limited. And so I always focused on what are the most sort of ROI activities, like high ROI activities that I need to focus on to move the needle forward in my business, because I was definitely on the path of quitting my 9-to-5 job, which I did. Basically, after I had my son, I never went back to my 9-to-5. And so because those really strict boundaries had been in place since the beginning, I built my business in the most lean, simple, and effective method possible. And that's really why, like, even though today there are so many people who teach about online courses and stuff, right? When I pivoted into this, it wasn't really that. Like there was the Amy Porterfield and, little old Gemma, like coming to the marketplace. I remember thinking like, okay, I'm going to just be like the Canadian Amy Porterfield. But actually what it came down to was I've never taken anything of Amy Porterfield's, but I think we have a very different approach. And part of mine was really born from this perspective of like, yeah, I don't have all the hours in the day. I can't hustle forever and grind forever to build a business. So can I still do this effectively with those strict boundaries in place? And the answer was yes. And so that's why I started teaching how I did it, was because I knew that there were so many other people out there who were building it in the margins of the rest of either their life or their business, or this was just like a side income stream or whatever that looked like. And so, I think that was sort of the foundation of how that all came to be in terms of my strategy.
Yeah, I love that so much. And also, I definitely want to chat a little bit more too about the marketing side of things in a little bit, but let's stick with course creation real quick, because I think that often with course creation, people are like, I don't know what I should create a course about, or like, I'm not really an online entrepreneur. Can you just talk a little bit about who could possibly create an online course and how it can be beneficial for you?
Totally. So I think the one thing to understand is that if you are absolutely new to business, you might be surprised to hear me say this, but like creating an online course is not your best first step. If you are starting a business and you just need to get paid some dollars, right? If you are like, I need to make X amount per month to either leave my 9-to-5 or whatever the situation might look like, in all likelihood, you're best to offer some services, right? Because you can just get a couple of clients at a certain rate and do that kind of work. And what's interesting is like, I kind of did that in the early days. Like I built websites for random small businesses. I actually decorated weddings. Like I did all of these random side gigs as I was growing my audience, figuring myself out as a course creator. However, if you are a business owner who's already providing one-on-one services in some capacity, if you are already a content creator and you are sharing on social about a particular topic or niche that you love, or if you know that you want to be a course creator and you're okay to have it be a bit of a long game, get on there and start sharing about whatever that topic is. And I think when people come to me and ask like, oh, I don't know what I should create a course about, often it's like right under their nose and they just can't see it, like they're too close to it to see it. So I work with a lot of personal brand entrepreneurs, right? And so often what they teach comes from something they've experienced. So what is a problem that you were able to overcome? How did you overcome it? And could you teach that to other people? If you are going to go and create a course about this, work with some clients one-on-one on that topic and help them go through the process and learn your method and get the results, because that's going to inform you so much about what that thing is that you want to teach, right? And you'll have actual case studies and proof of, your approach. So, and it's always just good to get in the trenches, with some clients first before you turn it into a course. So I think that, topics can be like right there under their nose. A couple pieces of advice I would give is like the more specific, the better. If you are already working with clients one-on-one, like what is it that clients are coming to you for? What are you known for? Those can be interesting angles to take. And then as we were actually talking about before, sometimes if you are a one-on-one service provider, you might be creating a course that is about the same topic that you help people, whatever that transformation is, you help people with. Other times it's showing others what you've done. So if you are, I don't know, let's say like you are a gut health practitioner, and maybe your courses are for the same type of people as your clients, but maybe you actually want to start a whole secondary business where you're going to help other gut health practitioners or nutritionists do something with their business that you did with yours that you can help them with too. That can actually be kind of cool because it's like a completely different arm of your business, takes, a totally different side of your brain. There's so many pathways that you can take, but that's one of the first things that we really look at inside of my program, Course Creator School, is really dialing in on what that very specific problem is that you could be solving in a course, because that's what people are going to pay for. They're paying for a solution. So you need to be really clear about what yours is.
Yes, that totally makes sense to me too. And I like that approach as well. It's like thinking about the whole big picture. And also I love when people do give that advice of, this isn't necessarily the first thing that you want to make, because that is one of those, Instagram irks, I like to call them, where it's like you see all those people online and they're like, okay, first thing, create a course, make $1 million, whatever it is. And it's like, no, let's be realistic and practical about this, you guys. So one thing I wanted to ask you too, though, is I feel like the online course creation industry has changed quite a bit since like I started back in 2019. And, courses were kind of like, online courses are like, wait, what's that? A lot of people like were still kind of confused about what that meant. And then through 2020, everyone and, their grandma started an online business, which is totally okay. And at the same time, there's definitely more like online courses out there. I feel like maybe there's more skepticism even when it comes to online courses. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I've got two angles with this. One is that, yes, like all of sort of the world has changed. And as with anything, fields change and we've progressed since 2019 in terms of this industry. However, at the same time, some of the principles of just like good marketing and good online programs remain the same, like great email marketing still works. Good storytelling and teaching in your content still works to grow an audience and make sales of your program. Webinars still work, and like courses still work. Like all of these things still work. It's not like things have changed so much that we're throwing away the foundations. I think the difference is that this marketplace is more competitive than it ever was. And so folks who maybe could get away with not necessarily having the tightest promise of their program without like having the clearest sales page, folks who maybe didn't have a lot of testimonials or social proof, or were maybe leaning just into some Instagram fame to make sales. Those things, it's harder today. And so you need to be savvier with your marketing. And I also think you just need to be clearer about what it is that you're selling. I think the time of having vague promises or overinflated ideas about what you can deliver in a course, that is over. And now it's the era of like, no, I'm going to be really clear about what this program can do for you and what it includes. And the more specific you are, the better. And there are still lots of course creators out there who are seeing growth year after year. I've grown year over year. There have been no dips, even with the changes that have happened in the world. And I think that's just a testament to like leaning into those foundations. So it's probably not like the sexiest answer, but it's the honest one.
Let's take a quick break.
If you're a podcast host or someone wanting to be interviewed on podcasts as a guest, visit podmatch.com. Podmatch automatically connects ideal podcast guests and hosts together for interviews. We always say it works just like a dating app, but instead of connecting you for dates, it connects you for podcast interviews. Podmatch has connected over 85,000 guests and hosts together for interviews that listeners love, all while saving you countless hours of administrative work through built-in automations. If you're ready to level up your podcast interviews on either side of the mic, start today by visiting podmatch.com.
No, and that's exactly what we're looking for and what we need to hear now too. And you know what else was coming up for me as you were talking is I think it's the same. I think it's definitely a mindset thing too, often, and something that we need to realize and maybe come up with shifts for ourselves or work on. It's the same as like people feeling like they can't start a blog because there's so many blogs out there and like, oh, I'm never going to grow on Instagram because it's like comparisonitis and also just losing confidence because of your comparisonitis. And maybe it's just something that we also need to find the tools to help ourselves grow in that confidence and remain stable in our own confidence.
100%. Like, and you'll waver, and that's just natural, right? We all do. But I actually think like confidence, I talked about this a few months ago in a presentation. I was talking about how confidence is really the linchpin of a successful course creator and their business, because you need to have it. You need to have it in order to keep going when things are feeling a little rough, right? You need to have it in order to create content that really resonates with people. I think you need to have it where you are standing up and talking about your program or your offers or your services or whatever it might be. And the people who are watching and listening can feel that confidence from you, because if you don't feel that and you're coming to the stage rocky, people feel the rockiness and aren't necessarily going to be ready to jump in with you and invest it with you if you aren't sure of what it is that you're putting out into the world. And so it's okay if sometimes that confidence might feel a little shaky. And I think there's also a big difference here with ego. Like, I'm not saying that we need to have giant egos online, which God, there's a lot of them. And, we see them every day. But I think that coming on with a solid confidence in yourself is really important when you're a course creator and running a personal brand business. And if you need people in your corner to help you continue to feel that level of confidence, then get those people in your corner. If it means you need to stop following certain people online because they're making you, doubt yourself or have some of that imposter syndrome, do that. For me, often, if I go a bunch of days without moving my body in a big way, like going to the gym, I will start to lose confidence as a business owner. It's amazing how those two things are so attached. Like, my health and wellness plays such a big role in me confidently showing up as a business owner. So I think understanding what those things are that you can pull on and the levers that are going to help you keep your confidence high is really important.
Yeah, totally. I love those tangible examples too, like going to the gym and also realizing your business is personal for you as the head of your business. And you have to realize the different things in your entire life that can help you grow your business in this way that you want to. And yeah, same for me. I mean, I love me wearing some sweatpants at home. And at the same time, if I ever feel like I need to get into the zone or have that go mode, I will make sure that I'm wearing the outfit that I splurged on and doing my hair straight. It's usually a curly mess. So that sort of stuff is really helpful and pretty easy.
It can have such a big effect on how you show up, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about marketing because I think that you do such a great job at teaching this and keeping it genuine and professional at the same time. And also, like you said, there's more competition out there. Our marketing tactics still work, but you really have to be savvy with them, right? So how have you been finding marketing online courses in your business in general? What have you been seeing this year specifically?
It's funny. I think coming back to the roots of how I got started in my business has been something that's been happening lately for me. Not that I ever left email marketing. It's been a huge pillar of my marketing strategy forever, but coming back to it in a more thoughtful way, I guess, or in a way that is going to help me prioritize it more. So I actually was just thinking, okay, because I've really struggled the last little bit. Like there's so many things that are happening on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis. And living in France, I'm going to tell you, like, I don't know if any of your listeners are French, but they have a lot of holidays here. Like the number of holidays that my children have from school is wild. First of all, they also don't have school on Wednesdays. So like my work hours basically since I've moved here are just so much shorter. And then every 6 weeks we have a 2-week break. And so I just have these like teeny tiny work hours every week. And then, yeah, like I said, these breaks. And so it has meant that I'm going to dial this back into marketing. It has meant that I have to be very conscious of what marketing strategies am I going to like lean into and spend my time creating. And I have been of late just trying to still do all the things and realizing that it was meaning that nothing was getting done very well. And so I have a renewed like passion for coming back to the foundations of just writing great emails. And then just sort of, if your audience is interested, like I also am on social media and stuff. And so I've decided to hire out an agency to help create that content for me and like fan it out. But what has to happen with me at the center of my company is me writing great emails. And if I stop doing that, like my voice then sort of goes away in the content that comes out in my business. I also, if I stop writing emails, I lose the direct connection with my people. And like the majority of my sales come through email. I can tell you without a doubt that if you send more emails, you're going to make more sales. Like the research shows it. My years in business, I can tell you firsthand, it's a thing. So yeah, for me lately, it's really coming back to email marketing, and any of my clients or students or people that I talk to in, back to your question about like what's working this year. I think a lot of the platforms are harder than they've ever been to be seen and to get traction on. And yet that hasn't happened with email marketing. People still make the majority of sales via email. When they dial into their email strategy, it pays off in spades. And so I think if everybody can think about that and maybe make a conscious effort to make writing great emails a more cornerstone activity as the CEO of their business. And then you can use it for whatever you want from there. Like go to Kinsey and get some great AI tips about how to create other content using that core email. But I think that getting back to basics with that from a marketing perspective will always turn into great results, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yes. It's so funny too. I always like to kind of be aware and analyze my own habits and my own thought process, like for how I'm being marketed to, and like think, what does this mean for my business? How can I apply different things and stuff? And there was definitely a period of time where I was very annoyed with my emails, like that I'm getting from people whose lists I'm on. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's endless. All of these emails all the time, And then some flip happened, like probably in the past year-ish, where I started loving my emails that I'm getting from people. And I love that so much more than scrolling Instagram. Like now I spend a little bit of time every morning looking through, and I don't feel as annoyed with emails. And I'm loving seeing what's going on with people from the people who I want to hear from, instead of Instagram. It's like just same content, and just like all these random people who I don't necessarily care about as much,
Yep. Random people, ads, Like you don't have control over what you open or don't open on Instagram or like any of the other social platforms.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of that can have like a really negative effect on our mental health. And like we get stuck in this cycle of like scrolling and, you know, they're smart, like they're creating those apps and to keep you on there. And it's not necessarily a healthy place to be. So I totally agree with you. And I think of course, we all get kind of annoyed when our inboxes are really full. And I often will go through an exercise of just unsubscribing to the things that I've kind of moved on from. But yeah, I love email as well. And you get to choose what you open and don't open, right?
Yes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about email tactics specifically. One thing that I have noticed from you and that I've loved is you having that little box at the bottom of your email that's like, here's what's hot in my offers or something like that. You can tell us about it. Another thing I've noticed with my own habits, I almost get a little bit more annoyed when I get emails that don't have a call to action and or like don't have good information. I kind of like checking people's offers out now, you know, and like I'm not necessarily, I don't love the emails that lead to nowhere as much as I maybe used to and stuff. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? And please share any email hot tips that you have with us.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, which that little box at the bottom of all my emails, I do have a name for it. I call it the super signature. And basically what it is it's like you're seeing me sign off on the email and there's like a graphic. And then underneath that graphic, as you mentioned, there's like a colored box. And that colored box basically has my hottest offers that are on deck. Like, here's how to work with me. And you just want to list off, you don't need to list every single offer if you happen to have a really large suite of products. But if you can list off like the 3 things or 5, be in the 3 to 5 range, reminding your audience of how they can work with you, it is incredibly powerful. Whether that subscriber subscribed last Tuesday or has been on your list since 12 months ago, they don't necessarily read every word you write or listen to everything that you say and do need that reminder of how they can actually take the next step and work with you. And it also puts into place the repetition that's necessary in marketing to get it sales. Like there are many studies out there that talk about how someone needs to see something like 18 times before they make a purchasing decision. Well, your super signature is just like quietly doing that for you week after week, every time you send an email. Love the super signature strategy. If you don't have one, create one. Go sign up for my email list just so you can see mine. I will make sure to drop a link with this show. The second point there of what you should be doing in email. I have thoughts about this too. And one is that I actually love to switch it up and keep people on their toes. So I don't really believe in like, it has to be one style of email and you're sending that one style over and over again, because like you were mentioning, it gets a little boring. And if someone is just telling me stories over and over every week, and there's either there's no CTA or there's nothing in that story that I can then apply, like there's no strategy that's being taught, there's no takeaway for me, then yeah, the storytelling is cool for a while I want to like follow you and follow along and, you know, have that kind of fun aspect. But what I'm never doing is seeing that storyteller as an expert or an authority in their thing, right? And then conversely, what happens is if you are only ever teaching in your emails and it's maybe leaning into a place that's a little more dry and is very like always tutorials or how-tos or 3 things that, you know, we're going to do X, Y, Z. Again, those can also feel, they can be fine in the beginning and then they can start to feel either a little repetitive, but also even a little overwhelming. Like I can't necessarily implement a new thing every single week that you're teaching me, right? And it's actually when you marry the 2 things together, when you're married, like the teaching aspect with storytelling and bring those 2 things that you become an exceptional email marketer, in my opinion. And you really can, at that point, you'll start to see huge like leverage in the sales that are coming in via your emails. And then the other thing here is to think about how can I provide breakthroughs for my email list subscribers? Like, how can I make sure that what I'm saying is relevant and juicy and engaging enough that they're going to want to keep opening these every week because what I'm talking about is really exciting or relevant or applicable to their situation. And so those can be things like taking a stance on something in your industry or things that you disagree with, or busting some myths, or sharing a really cool strategy that you're using, or just being really transparent, that those types of emails, while you don't need to do these like big idea breakthrough type emails every single week, they can be ones that people remember. And I think it's important to think about yourself as a consumer of emails too. Like, what are those emails that you remember people sending? And why do you think you remember them? Well, it's probably because they somehow shifted your thinking about that topic. They've done something memorable in that email. Watch those for clues and then apply that to your own strategy for sure. And it's okay to send short emails and long emails and in between emails. And you can send emails that are full of graphics and then others that just look like you've written it to a friend. I think having that diversity actually keeps your audience on their toes and keeps them wanting to open what you have to offer.
Yes, entertainment is just so important in this day and age for just keeping people's attention. And so I love the variety thing too. Well, I could talk to you forever, but we are hitting that mark where we need to shut this conversation down. But you guys, Gemma has so much more to share with us. Can you please tell us where everyone can find you, get to know you, and snag all of your awesome resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually host a show as well. They'll call the Course Creator Show. So if your listeners love podcasts, just head on over to that one, hit subscribe. If you want to see some of my emails that I have sent associated with some of my launches that have done 6 figures in revenue, then I do have those available as a freebie. And so we'll provide the link because it's a little long. It's learn.gemmabonham-carter.com/emails. It's a bit long, but we'll make sure that it's in the show notes for you. And then I'm also over on Instagram at gemma.bonham-carter. So you can definitely head on over there and send me a DM. I have stuff if you're like a new course creator wanting to get started, let me know. If you're an existing course creator and you're interested in the passive project program that we were talking about that Kinsey's a part of, let me know. We can take it from there.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll link everything in the show notes. And I appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
How great was this conversation with Gemma, you guys? I truly loved chatting with her. And actually, I was able to be a guest on her podcast as well, the Course Creator Show, where we were geeking out about AI tools and content repurposing, tools such as Descript and OpusClip and all that different stuff. So make sure you go check out her podcast as well. And don't forget to connect with me on Instagram. I am at feelgoodsocial. Send me a message. Let me know that you came from the podcast, and I will be sure to give you a follow back and just continue spreading you some love over there. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.